Firmly in the grip of globalization, the Vietnamese are trying to keep up as fast as they can. But the people are also firm in the grip of a one-party system that has control over every area of life, including faith.
Facing criticism from the outside, the Vietnamese government has made efforts to improve its reputation by allowing Christian churches such as this one to register. The problem is when a church registers, it forfeits control of when it meets, how often, and even who its pastor is.
That's why many Christians are going underground. This place is a secret refuge for men and women from the most persecuted area of Vietnam, the mountain region. Here they come to worship together and study the Bible. The men here today are from several tribes. Some are illiterate, some are former addicts, and some former witch doctors. Each had an encounter with God that changed the course of their life, and now they want to learn more about Him. What they also share is the experience of religious persecution. We've hidden their identities for their own protection. The threat of arrest, or worse, is very real. One of the men, Khan, shows me how local policemen arrested him and hung him by his thumbs.
They took me to the station and they tortured me. They used something to tie my thumb and one of my toes and hung me on the wall for 3 hours.
He can barely hide the pain of that moment. Until 15 years ago, Christianity was virtually unheard of among certain tribes. Today, the people in the tribal areas make up Vietnam's fastest growing church. Following Christ has meant much trouble for Minh. He had practiced idol worship his whole life, but when he got sick, he couldn't find relief.
In March last year, I was sick, and I didn't have enough money to buy the sacrifice to the gods. So I asked one of the Christians to pray for me, and God healed me. Since that time, people hate me because I don't do the sacrifice anymore.
He destroyed the idols, which angered many in his community. He was also brutally beaten by the police. He's not fighting back. Instead, he's equipping himself to teach and preach the salvation and love he found. As these men study the Bible, they discover that being persecuted for following Jesus is nothing new. Though Peter has been arrested many times for going out to preach, he takes his persecution in stride.
The government says there is a freedom of religion, but there is a lot of persecution among Christians and other tribes. But I always have freedom because it doesn't matter what they allow us or not. I will do what I am called to do.
I ask him why they are so persecuted while other churches in the world are not.
I think one of the reasons people are not persecuted is because the church hasn't sent people out to evangelize. The reason we are persecuted is because we are active and are sending people out to evangelize.
Todd Nettleton says it's a common thread in the story's Voice of the Martyrs documents.
As we've talked to them about persecution, they almost seem surprised that we're asking about it, because to them it's normal. That's what it means to follow Christ. Several of them have made the statement, well, Christ suffered, so if we follow him, we'll suffer too.
What will happen to the Church of Vietnam is uncertain. As the government continues to face pressure from the outside, more freedoms may come. These people aren't holding their breath, but they are speaking up, not for their rights, but for the faith they hold and the God they love, even if it costs them their lives. For CBN News, Denise Lottie, Vietnam.